Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasat Tato Jaya Madhuraya Nasta Prayesvabhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavaiti Naistiki. Tam aviklavam avridam alakshya madhusudanaha ovacha parama prito vibrat swam porosim tanum. So what translation? And translation and then purport by His Divine Grace is Confound Acharya, Srila Abhacharya Vrindavan Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki. Tam, him, Lord Shiva. Aviklavam, without being agitated by the accident that had taken place. Avridam, without being ashamed. Alaksha, seen. Madhusudanaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Madhusudana, the killer of the demon Madhu. Uvacha said, Parama Pritaha, being very pleased, Bibrat, assuming, Swam, his own, Porosim, original, Tanum, form. Translation: seeing Lord Shiva unagitated and unashamed, Lord Vishnu, Madhusudana, was very pleased. Thus, he resumed his original form and spoke as follows. Please kindly responsibly repeat. Seeing Lord Shiva unagitated and unashamed,
seeing Lord Shiva unagitated and unashamed,
Lord Vishnu Madhusudana was very pleased. Thus he assumed his original form and spoke as follows. So let's listen to Srila Prabhupada's purport with rapt attention. Although Lord Shiva was aghast at the potency of Lord Vishnu, he did not feel ashamed. Rather, he was proud to be defeated by Lord Vishnu. Nothing is hidden from the Supreme Personality of God, for He is in everyone's heart. Indeed, the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasha Shaham Ridi Sanivisto Mata Smriti Jnana Apohanam Cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Whatever happened had taken place under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore there was no cause to be sorry or ashamed. although Lord Shiva is never defeated by anyone, when defeated by Lord Vishnu, he felt proud that he had such an exalted and powerful master. Om Agyana Tumirandasya, Gyana Jana Salakaya, Saksurun Meditam, Jena Tasmai, Si Gurave Namaha. Suchaitanya Manobhistam, Stafetam Jena Bhutali, Swayam Rupam Kadamaya, Dadati Swa Padantika. Pancha Kalpatari Becha, Kripa Sundubya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo, Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Sri Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhuttale, Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Vetinana. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gaura Bhaktarini, Nivasesa Sannivadi, So, you have been listening to episode of The Bewilderment of Lord Shiva by Mohini Murthy. And today's text is just a continuation of that. So the Lord, Papa mentions, and the purport here, that the Lord is seated in each and every one, everyone's heart. Lord Krishna mentions specifically in the Gita 15:15 that He's seated in everyone's heart. And if someone is willing to remember something, or even remember the Lord, He makes provisions. If we want to forget Him, also, the Lord is very merciful. He makes provisions. But when we encounter some situation that could be very disturbing or agitative situation, and that is the real test of our devotional culture. When we don't face temptations, it means that we have not started the journey. When we are confronted with challenges and we pass the test, then we are making progress. Just like if you are in college, the professor will put you to test because he will want to upgrade you to the next stage. Maybe you are in 100 level, so the next academic year, professor wants to see that you've cleared all your papers, you've gone to 200 level. But ascending to 200 level, it doesn't just happen by chance. You have to prove your worth. You'll be tested. So, our devotional life also is full of temptations, tests, challenges. And when we're not facing the challenges, we should know that we have not started. But don't try to artificially act like Mother Kunti. And you come to pray to Sister Krishna Balaram, oh please, I want all the challenges now. Because by having the challenges, just like Mother Kunti, I'll be able to remember you. Don't try it. I'll suggest to you, don't try it. I'll give you a graphic example. I had a friend. At that time, he was in college. So he was leading some college students. That was in Delhi. Okay. So we were very close. Now he's finished his master's. He's doing some programming overseas. So he told me how normally he would take these students on yatra. You go Navadvip Parikram and Jagannath Puri and all these places. So one of those yatras, he was not having the intention to go at all. The desire wasn't there. So, but then he thought, what am I going to do now? What am I going to tell these students that, that will be pleasing to them? He didn't know what to do. So he said, all right, I'll go and pray to Sisi Radha Parthasati. So he went to Sisi Radha Parthasati and he prayed, my Lord, look, I don't want to go for this yatra. Do something about it. I don't know what to tell the students. He finished our prayers. After a few days, he had a terrible accident. So students don't need to be convinced about anything. He had an accident. He cannot go. Oh yeah? So he told me the story. He wrote me. I already got back to the United States, so he wrote me. He told me that. So I warned him. I said, don't try it. Don't go and pray. Don't go and wish any bad thing before Krishna. He will give it to you as fast as possible. You're praying for good thing. It takes a very long time. So the point is, when we face challenges, we should be able to understand that, like a piece of gold from the gold mine, you're being treated to become pure so that you could be sold for a very big price. And to be a pure devotee, that is the greatest prize you can think of. And Lord Shiva is considered to be the greatest of all the Vaishnavas. Vaishnava Varnam Yata Sambhu. So what makes someone so great a Vaishnava? First, he is at the highest profile of self-regulation and self-restraint. In other words, something happens, the pure devotee does not get agitated, he does not get disturbed. And he can always correct himself. Self-regulation. Self-corrigibility. Sometimes we think that we can't make mistakes, but anyone can make a mistake. Material energy can mess up anyone. Devihi Ishagunamayi Mama Maya Durataya. Lord Krishna said, no one can conquer the material energy except for one who is 100% surrendered unto him. So, we are bound to pass through challenges, but an important point is that, do we become overly agitated? Or do we even sign off from Krishna consciousness? I came to participate in this Krishna consciousness. I've been having so many troubles out there, and I came so that I can be peaceful. There's no peace here. If you want peace, look for some peace in some other place. Because there is no peace in going to college. There is no peace in doing a doctoral program. If you're doing a PhD, you think that you're going to have peace. No, you don't have peace. You will experience loneliness. Is someone lonely? Is he going to be experiencing peace? No. You will not have time to joke around with people because all of your time is so much circumscribed. So a devotee, a pure devotee also, his time is highly circumscribed by time. They don't waste their time for anything outside of Krishna consciousness. And that gives such souls the reinforcement, the constant reinforcement to be able to focus on Krishna only, so that if there is some agitations, some exogenous cause of agitation, some external projection that creates some agitation, some disturbance, they become undaunted. So here is a typical case study, if a management scientist is looking at this text and this chapter, he will perhaps describe it to be a qualitative descriptive case study on Lord Shiva's bewilderment. Any one of us could be bewildered by the potencies of the Lord. And the Lord has multifarious potencies. But then, although he had all of these variety of potencies, the whole potencies they are categorized into three. There's the Bahiranga Shakti, Antaranga Shakti, and the Tatastha. We are Tatastha. I mean, we are like by the bank of a river where there is a flow tide and an ebb tide. When the flow tide comes, it touches our feet. We're standing there. When the ebb tide comes, oh, we're enjoying. It's dry. So that is the nature of this material world. Papa calls it a world of dualities. But then the dualities also, they facilitate our expedited progress in devotional life. Because if there is no challenge, we will not be constantly praying to Krishna. We will feel relaxed. That is the nature of the material world. If you have some problem, the doctor gives you some prescription. As soon as the problem is being relieved, you forget to take the medicine in the morning. When the problem was very intense, immediately you wake up, you go straight to the tablet or to the medicine, you take it. As soon as you get in some relief, the tendency is to forget to take that medicine. In a similar way, in the beginning of our spiritual life, we could be very serious. As soon as we've been there for some times, we feel relaxed. I will give several reasons not to come to Mangarati, if even we are in the dam. But yeah. But these attitudes, they don't help us in reinforcement in our Krishna consciousness. So if we look at the case of Lord Shiva, he was not even afraid because he had the Lord behind him. How was that? Because Lord Shiva heard about the bewilderment of the demons. Mohini Moti went there with her beauty and bewildered the demons, collected the nectar from the demons, and gave it to the demigods. And then Lord Shiva heard about this episode, and he personally went with Uma, with his consort, to Vishnu's abode. And he said, I had the story. In other words, he wanted to see that form. And when Vishnu fulfilled the desire, manifested that form, that was Lord Shiva's bewilderment. Parasha Shakti Vividaiva Suyati. Swabhavki Jnana Bala Kriya. The Lord has many energies. But it does not really need extra effort to manage all of these energies. Just by his desire, things work out spontaneously. And so, a devotee is one of the qualities of a devotee is that he or she is afraid of Maya. But Lord Shiva, he is the greatest of all devotees. He wasn't afraid. He went to ask Vishnu, I want to see that form. So, what do we learn from this? You had these whole narrations, even right from the beginning of the appearance, when Mohini Moti manifested. And then we enter into this chapter. For this chapter, what do we learn from it? the power of sex energy. This is what has locked us into this material world for billions and billions of lifetimes. And it could continue to lock us in here if we don't strategize to be able to decastrate ourselves from the shackles of this material bondage. And Prabhupada has given us a perfect procedure, perfect strategies. You know, I was at the All Indian Institute of Medical Sciences at Delhi, at the University Teaching Hospital there. I went to make a presentation. So I was to the medical doctors. So one of the things I mentioned that all of the professors, all of the medical professors and the doctors, they were laughing. I said, look, I know of medical doctors, psychiatric doctors. In most cases, a number of them are psychiatric patients themselves. And so all of them, the bosses are laughing. So we are patients. We are patients. We are looking for some relief from our ailment. And Prabhupada has given us just one of the things I mentioned to them on how to control the mind. There are two strategies. You may ask, what is the connection of that to this text? Yeah, agitation. When agitation comes, do you have the zeal to control yourself? And sometimes we have challenges and we just completely sign off from the movement. We run away. I mean, it's like you fail an exam. And next life, you start from there. You want to go back to school? If you drop out from school, you want to go back to complete a degree, you stop from where you stop, where you drop out. So if we have challenges in devotional service and then we run away, and the next life we start from there. Because we have to pass the test before we move forward. So agitations or temptations or challenges in our devotional service, they are like exams to us. But because we are sick, it is difficult. If someone is ill, it's difficult to go and sit for exam. Because for you to go and sit for exam, you have to read, is it not? And if you are sick, you will not have that stamina to be reading. We are sick. We conditioned souls, we are sick. And so that is why sometimes the enthusiasm wanes almost to zero. But the point is, Papa has given us two basic fundamental strategies. They are as simple as they are. As simple as they are. But if we follow those two fundamental strategies, I tell you, we will not be afraid to move on in the midst of challenges. And that is constantly chanting Krishna's names and never to eat boga, especially grains. Especially grains. Why? Why did Prabhupada not encourage us to eat pizza in the restaurant? Why? It's vegetarian. Sometimes it's even vegan, isn't it? Because when we eat all these grains, little things agitate our minds. For the fact that the person who cooks the grains, the consciousness of the person goes into the food. If you're doubting this, just stop eating prasadam and just be a vegan and go to the restaurant and take your, take all the vegan foods you want to take. But you keep chanting. Okay? Don't stop the chanting. And then you correlate your situation to the time that you were not eating burger. The agitation of the mind becomes completely different. And so Prabhupada gave us instructions, but in most of the instructions, we don't really understand the scientific values of the instructions. And therefore, we tend to think that so many rules. Why so many rules? And if you're doubting that the chanting will help to fight agitation, stop chanting. Not long, just stop for 1 week, 7 days. And you see the difference in terms of agitations of the mind. You see what happens. And then the greatest of all of these turbulences, emotional turbulences, is sex life, sex desire, sex agitation. And that is what is being advertised on the billboards everywhere you go. So in environment, we are performing devotional service in environments that are not very conducive. At least in India, it's a little bit okay. If you live India, you fly into New York. You live Vrindavan and fly into New York. The energies are completely different. If you survive after 6 months, after 6 years, then you're a hero. Oh yeah. So the bottom line is that there are so many subtle manifestations that we don't really perceive that are militating against our desire to become stabilized in the face of agitations. And therefore, the Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, becomes imperative factor. That reinforces our ability to be undaunted in the face of temptations. Otherwise, it's so easy. And see, if you read about the purport to this text, to the previous chapters, the whole concentration is being on men. Why on men? Aren't women also devotees? Because in the Vedic culture, women were not so much involved seriously. It is when Prabhupada came to the West to spread Krishna consciousness that he was so merciful that he basically wanted everyone, even in the West, women were even living in the ashrams, so brahmacharyas. So he gave every one of us a chance to grow. Because in the ages of yore, it is the man who struggles so hard to be able to attain liberation so that he can liberate the spouse and also the children. But now, even the females, they could become perfected souls because they have also been given the opportunities like the men. Everyone is an open book of objectivity. Krishna consciousness is an open book of objectivity. And so anyone could really become perfected. So the point is it only men that are agitated or they are attracted to sex life? No. Both sexes, it is something that it is a common factor, as a common denominator. So yeah, we're talking about Lord Shiva's bewilderment, but women also could be subject to bewilderment. You know, one of my mentees, she's a lawyer, white lady. So she was just telling me a story of a case that she was dealing with. And here is a man who was married with children. And one other woman came from nowhere. They were working in the same office and zapped this man, had an affair with the man. They had a child. And then eventually the wife got to know. So there was a big problem. So she told me, the lawyer, she told me, so she was investigating the case. So she was asking this lady, why? You know, this man is married. Why you have to do this? And then the lady said, I don't just know, but I mean, it was like I was being pulled. And I couldn't really do without this man. So I tried by all means to see that I catch it. So, the bewilderment is in both cases. You know, in the Vedic literature, we say it's lost. Krishna mentions Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajaguna Tamoga. Mahasano Mahapapma, Vidina, Nihavarina. He said loss is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. We don't hear that word in the social media or in the social setting. We hear another word. It's something to be proud of. A crush. I had a big crush on him. Does it know? Something to be proud of. So the material world is not a very good place. If Lord Shiva could be bewildered, what to speak of? We condition, super conditioned souls. So it's a good lesson to learn from here so that we don't become overly proud. It's a case that could enable a humbling situation for all of us. It's a case that could enable a sobering situation for all of us. It's a case that could enable a state of retrospection. So each time we hear the Leelas, to recite the Leelas, this is very good. But what is the implication of the Leela to your personal life? What are you carrying home with to create a positive change in your life? Yes, you get purified by hearing the Leela. But what is the social or moral implication? Most of my works are basically on integrating applied Vedic science and applied management and decision sciences in profiling solutions to leadership, management, and social issues. So these are the type of things I've been doing over the years, right from when I was young. I was a brahmachari. And the Vedic literature is so rich. There's so much of information there. What is needed is that we have people who could utilize these resources in creating a revolution in society. Because there are so many people who don't believe who do not even believe in God. So how do you deal with that? They're not going to come and sit down here with you to hear Bhagavatam class. They're not going to come to your temple for Mangarati. They're not going to come and join you for Harina. What are we thinking about those people? They are also Krishna's prodigal children. So everyone in this world is bewildered. And the devotee, a pure devotee, is thinking, it's because he's paradukha dukha, he's most aggrieved to see the suffering of humanity. And so we should begin to go out of our comfort zone to figure out ways on how to remobilize ourselves in redirecting amidst God-directed civilization. Otherwise, we'll just become, salvationists. I chant 108 rounds every day to save myself. So when you go back to Krishna, report to Krishna is what? Yes, I come back to you. I did wonders. I have what chanting 208 rounds every day. So Krishna will ask you, so bad, there's so many of your brothers there who have run away from the family. What did you do to bring some of them back to me with you? That's what Krishna is looking at. And so, we have to understand that. The devotional service is not just only for our own liberation, because everyone is bewildered of sex energy. Because that is the charcoal that binds us to this material world. Prabhupada left the comfort of Vrindavan to travel to the West, to travel to New York, at an age that any sane person should just relax and wait for the final time. But he had an instruction from his spiritual master to go and help out. So we should follow the example of Prabhupada. We're talking about Lord Shiva's bewilderment, but we are all bewildered. We don't know what is to be done, what is not to be done. And so, the fundamental idea is that we should know that the Lord has many energies, and these energies are working very wonderfully, and no one can outsmart the Lord. If we go and ask the Lord to show us His elusive energy, He will give. I think McIntyre Rishi also made some attempt. He wanted to see the elusive energy, and then immediately he got it. Yeah. Immediately he got it. So, we should not pray for bad things. We should not ask Krishna for anything that is not going to give us sustainable happiness. We are not Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is self-restrained. He is highly self-regulated. He is self-corrigible. We can't even correct ourselves. If even we see we make some mistakes, to correct ourselves is so difficult. So there's so many lessons we can learn from this whole chapter, and specifically on this text. So the Lord is in our hearts. What does that mean? It means that whatever we do is not hidden from Him. And so we should just be sincere to the Lord. Sincerity of purpose is the best recourse in our devotional service. And we'll get the Lord's mercy, we'll get Prabhupada's mercy, we'll get the devotee's mercy. As soon as we begin to think, I am smart, no one has seen me doing this, we're looking for trouble. Because the Lord is in the heart of each and every one. Temptations may come, but we should pray to the Lord to be able to give us the ability to be able to resist the temptations. I like telling this story. There was a little girl, 8 years old girl, in Laguna Beach. I was in Laguna Beach for a program, and after the class, this gentleman came to me and narrated the story to me about what happened between himself and his 8 years old girl. He said he came back from work one day, and for no reason, he started abusing his 8 years old daughter. There's nothing he didn't tell her. But the girl was so endowed with tolerance. She was completely, at that day, she was completely un-American. Because it's a simple thing to call the police and put the father to jail. It's emotional abuse. She didn't do that. She tolerated. That scenario passed. After some days, they were eating, jolling around. And then she said, Dad, You remember that day you came back from the office and you did this to me, you did this to me, you did this to me. Did you have any fight with somebody in the office that day? 8 years old. She was bombarded with so much of emotional abuse, but she was not agitated. She comported herself. She controlled herself. She adapted the principle of tam tiksha swa bharat. But after some days, the father is peaceful, she is peaceful, she brought up the issue for resolution. And the father said, yes, that day I had so much of fight with people in the office. So when he told me this story, I asked him, go and bring that your daughter here, right now. So he called the girl. I said, pay obeisances to this girl. So he did. And then the girl also paid obeisances back to him. And then I begged the girl on his behalf and on behalf of Prabhupada. I said, you don't know the type of energy you're carrying in the house, because this one, it looks like your daughter, a small girl, but she's not a small girl. Because you can't even do this to your wife, and she wouldn't take it. So 8 years old girl, she was able to withstand. She had self-restraint in the face of agitations. So we can also learn from even the 8 years old girl that it's not that someone is not going to poke you. You're bound to be poked by someone in this material world. And sometimes even the closest person to you is the one who's going to poke you. So we should understand the world is in a state of flux with bewilderments rooted in the workings of the illusory energy. Lord Shiva was not under the influence of illusory energy. The Lord dealt with him purely with his Antaranga Shakti. But we are not Lord Shiva. It's the illusory energy who has to deal with us. And so that could be very tremendous. And therefore, we should think of ways on how to become more united and be able to work together. More united in the sense that when someone is in difficulty, instead of simply thinking that the person is a Maya, we are proactive, we think of ways to help that person. That's how it works. And in that way, Krishna and Prabhupada will be very pleased with our efforts in the community of Krishna consciousness, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So remember, the Lord is in each and every one's heart, and there's nothing that we do that's hidden from Him. And so that alone should give us a sense of caution. Any comments or questions? Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Okay, yes. Can you give a microphone if there is any?
Recently I was in college, I was meeting with some students, and I was preaching to them. They live in the center over there. So as I realizing this point, according to a story, that installing the divine qualities of the devotional service is much easier in the early stages of the life, as compared to the grow, they become old also. The quality you are mentioning about the tolerance, it becomes so easy in the early days to learn, as compared to the older age, around 30-35. But once in our movement we found that maximum congregations are there, maximum crowd which we are giving Krishna consciousness to them is on the later stage. So what should should be our perspective about them? How to understand these things?
Yeah, when you see the agitation of the senses, they don't give you a break. Because if you take a 90 years old person to the hospital to go and see Miss India sick in the hospital. I mean, the old 90 years old person is sick in the hospital, and then you bring in Miss India, the most beautiful girl in India, and walk past that person. 90 years old. Huh? He will turn his eyes. That experiment was already conducted some years ago, you know. I think Gupta conducted that experiment. So this political analyst, Indian political analyst, and if you have a teenager, okay, a teenager is also sick. Why I'm using the example of sick is that you're supposed to be in a state where you're just thinking about your life, not anything else. So you have a teenager, say 17 or 18 years old teenager, sexually active teenager, he's sick. Or a girl, she's sick, on a sick bed. And then, if it's a boy, you bring in Miss India, the most beautiful girl in India, walk past. She knows that Miss India is coming. He will forget about his sickness. He will look until she goes out. So, the senses do not give us any break. There's no break. The only thing that separates or divides, that creates the divide, is one person is a Goswami, the other person is a Godasa. One who practices Krishna consciousness ultimately will be able to control himself or herself in the face of challenges. Someone who is not involved in any purificatory system, forget it. Whether you're a man or you're a woman. So, bottom line is that when you come to Krishna consciousness in the beginning, you're very enthusiastic. But there is also that very tendency to fall prey to the illusory energy. Just like the person who has been there for 30 years, if he plays around with the illusory energy, he or she is also going to be encapsulated by the illusory energy. Maya has no favorites. He treats everyone equally. If we give you a chance, he will jump into your room. Or she will jump into your room. That's how it works. So I've not seen anywhere in the scriptures where it is said that when in the beginning you're very tolerant and then later you're not tolerant. No, I've never seen that. If you have any reference, let me know. I deal with references because as a scholar, if I'm writing something, I'll bring some reference. So I've never seen that anywhere. You have any reference?
Not such as Shastri.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Yes, please. Can you give her the microphone?
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. You mentioned that we shouldn't be afraid to move on and challenge. What do you mean with that? Because sometimes the fear in the body is gonna make him step himself to get out. Or can you explain a little bit more?
Can you repeat your question?
You say that we shouldn't be afraid to move on and challenge.
Yeah.
What do you mean with that?
Okay, okay. Let me explain that. You see, material world, Bhagavatam explained, pada pada hi vi padam. Any step you take in the material world could be dangerous. In other words, there are challenges even on the express road in Krishna consciousness. We might be taking shelter of Krishna, but we are bound to face some challenges. So when challenges come, we should not sign off. We should not run away from Krishna consciousness, because that means that we've been defeated. We should stay put and move on and take shelter more of the holy name and shelter of the devotee and the spiritual master. That's what I mean. Because the tendency is that we come to Krishna consciousness, we are looking for some peace. We come to Krishna consciousness and we have some temptations, some disturbances here and there. And we tend to think that, oh, well, I just have to get out from this place. So I'm saying, no. I mean, it's like you're flying from Delhi to London. Sometimes you cruise in high altitudes and there are disturbances. And so the pilot puts on the seatbelt sign. Don't move. Go back. Everyone go back to your seat and put on your seatbelt, because we are passing through a turbulent area. So we do have turbulent periods in our spiritual life, but we should, put on our seatbelt. We should take shelter more of the holy name and the devotees and the spiritual master. That's what I mean. Does it make some sense? All right, thank you. So, in the absence of any other comments or questions, we'd like to adjourn this meeting. Srila Prabhupada ki.